अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। So in the previous class we discussed about Ishvara and how Ishvara is one of the manifestations or Saguna Brahma Upasanam, and how Ishvara is present in every living and non-living beings. So it is present also as a manifest form, as Saguna Brahma Upasanam. It is also present as the unmanifest form also. So there are many things which in this world is not manifest yet. Example, the science discovers new things every day. So they discover new medicines, and many discoveries are there. Many stars have been discovered, many galaxies are discovered. Now these are all unmanifest because it is not seen or known to anyone, but it is already there. So in Vedanta we worship everything as manifest or unmanifest, because we always believe that whatever you see is not what it is. There are also many things hidden or which is unseen are also unmanifest. That's why the Purusha Sukta also with Tripadas Yamritam Divi. So 3 parts is not manifest and 1/4 is manifest. So which we will see the Thursday class when we have finished Rudram. We will be starting with the Purusha Sukta Bhashya. So in that you will see all this same thing discussed, but more elaborately in detail also. So today we thought we'll have to see what Maya is. So we know what Ishvara is, but we need to understand also what Maya is. But before understanding what Maya is, we would need to understand what Srishti means. Srishti or creation. So the creation theory is required to be understood, because from the creation theory only we can arrive at what Maya does to our understanding. So Srishti, as you know, it means creation. That means something is getting created. Whether there is creation, is it absolutely true, or it is only an impression, it should be discussed. So the order in which we follow is Srishtihi, Maya, Jnanam, Samsaraha. So the first topic we'll see is Srishti today. And if we get time, we'll go through the other topics. So what is Srishti when I say? Let us assume that there is creation. So if you understand, if something has to be created, then there has to be a process called creating. Because creation is a product of the process called creating. Just like when you say meditation, when you say I'm in meditation, that means there's a meditating process being happening there. Correct? Then only meditation happens. So in the same way, creating also is a process. So you just go with the assumption now. You do not have to assume that there is a creation. And when you want to have a creation, there has to be a process called creating. And the creating has to be done by a creator. So there has to be a creator, someone who is sitting and creating all these objects, someone who is always busy doing this, creating things, and he produces these things for us to enjoy. The question is, do you see the creator? Imagine the world is being created. All the objects in this world are being created. Universe is being created. Srishti Padaithavan, Srishti Karta. In Tamil, Ulagam Padaithavan. Or the universe is created by somebody. So let us assume that there is somebody called Bhagavan there creating this universe. Now, if there is a creation, we are also a creation, correct? We are also part of the creation. Even the Jiva also is a created product. And we also have a definite timeline. The Jiva has also got a definite timeline. The physical body has got a timeline because you are also a product of the creation. Then the Jiva also enjoys existence, continues to live, grow, change. Then finally the Jiva perishes or dies. Again Jiva is born. So which means that there is a birth of the universe, change in the universe, and death of the universe. Along with the death of the universe, the creator also disappears. Okay, this is the creation theory. Now one may ask why this theory is being proposed. Upanishad always tried to create or bring something into picture for you to analyze, understand, and then equate yourself with that. So like all the other objects in the world are created outside, just like all the animals, the plants, the trees, the stars, the sun, the moon, etc. are created. Likewise, we are also a product of the creation. And we also have a definite timeline for going from this world. So creation is bringing something into existence which was not there before. Is that correct so far? So when you say I created, which means I created means you brought into something which was not there before. Was there really a creation? Take an example of a gold necklace, a gold ornament. The goldsmith says, I created this gold necklace, gold ornament, so many carats, so many different varieties, designs, so much heavy, so much light. So the goldsmith says he created the ornament. Now, did he really create the ornament? From where did he create the ornament? He would have created from the gold, correct? The gold would have been the substance from which he would have created the ornament. Did he create the gold? Did the goldsmith create the gold or not? He didn't, right? But what does he say? I created the gold necklace. I created, this is my creation. This is my, all these are my own understanding. Right? So he says, this is all my design. This is how, and this is how the Jiva also says, this is how I do this. I created this. I enjoyed this. I grew this. I produced this. All these things, all I. Just as a goldsmith says, I created an ornament. And the ornament is created from the gold. Did the goldsmith create the gold? No. The gold was already present. It was given to him. It was already existing in gold form, correct? All he did was, he used intelligence, his skill, and he created an ornament. So there was no creation. There is only an appearance or a manifestation of the gold in another form. Is it correct? Same gold can be made into 10 gold rings, some bangles, can be different varieties. Can be Uttiyanam. All are different names created for the same one substance called gold, from which everything comes into existence. So was there any creation? There's no creation. But somehow we feel there is a creation. So the same example also, you take one step backward also now. So we arrived at the conclusion or arrived an understanding saying that the gold is a substance, and from the substance, a nama rupaha, nama means name, and the rupaha means a form, gets created. And this creation is seen as the Satyam. So when you see the gold ornament, what do you see there? You see the design. You see the design, you see all the ingredients, you see the artwork, how he has done it. You also measure and see how much grams of gold it is. At that time, it doesn't strike to you that what I am seeing is only modified form of gold and it is only a name. We may understand, we may not understand, but at that time we forget because we are so busy looking at the design, comparing different things, that we forget the substance itself. So now the gold is, we know that the gold is the substance. All the names and forms, was it existing outside of the gold or inside the gold? All the names and forms, the gold ornament, the gold chain, gold Uttiyanam, the gold ring, gold bangles, everything, was it outside of the gold or inside of the gold? It is inside of the gold, right? It was present as inside of the gold, but unmanifest. So even the knowledge also of the person was also unmanifest before, because unless you give him the gold, his knowledge is not going to be very used to him. If you tell him that I got a bar of gold, then he will tell you From this bar of gold, I can make you 10 chains, 2 rings, 3 bangles. He will tell you all these things. But you cannot see them. We only see the gold bar, right? You tell him, this is what I can see. This is for you. But the person who is going to make the ornament has got the knowledge. So the knowledge of creating the gold was also present in the gold itself. Then only he was able to see. If there was no gold being presented to him, his knowledge would have been not manifest. Hope you're following. Huh? This is a critical lesson. So I'm going step by step. First of all, you see an ornament. You see an ornament, you conclude that this is what it is, the truth. Now I say to you that the ornament is only a name and form. The truth is actually the gold. So the name and the form was already present in the gold in unmanifest form. Is it correct? So far. So far you should be with me. Okay. Now, there is a goldsmith also present there who is the creator of the gold ornament. Now, as long as he doesn't see the gold, his skill is not manifest, correct? But the knowledge of creating the gold is also present in the gold itself, because he sees the gold and he tells that this is what is going to come. He's not yet created anything at all. He only sees the gold in unmanifest form. Then he says, I will make this gold like this. So the name, the form, the skill or the knowledge required for the goldsmith to create was already present in the form, gold, correct? It's already present in the gold, but in unmanifest form. But somehow we do not see the truth, and we always see only the manifestation, or that is the truth. So this is what is called Maya. This is what is called Maya, which is a power which makes you believe something which is not there. It makes you believe something which is not there. Sriram, you got a question, is it now?
Yeah, so this is a burning question that I always used to have. So this manifestation and unmanifestation, it depends on people to people, who, at a various spiritual level, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. So you can't, from person A perspective, something can be unmanifested, but it's not the same for person B. Is it right?
Because it depends upon the level of knowledge of the person. Yeah. A Jnani will always see everything differently.
Say, for example, I'm just taking the example of X-ray, right? You can't see through this eye. But if you ask the scientist, he will say, yes, there is the X-ray, right? The ordinary, the layman can't understand what X-ray is. But when you go to a, scientist, he can say that, okay, there is an X-ray. Like, even though you can't see, it exists, right? So how do you, so again, it's a chicken and egg kind of a situation, so there is nothing called unmanifested, isn't it? There is, everything is there. Only thing is that your apparatus is not as good enough to understand it. For example, even it happens to, Karna during that, Mahabharata war, unless and until, Krishna took that Vishwarudra, he gave him that, Arjuna, he gave him that vision to see that Vishwarupa Darshana, isn't it? It was there, but he can't see.
I mean, Sriram, I think what I would suggest to you, you continue to listen, because there are lots of thoughts coming into your mind, because you're reading from many things. I'm not discouraging you. What I'm trying to say is we have to go systematically here, because the process of unfolding is what I'm trying to tell you. So you follow the course, and then after enter the course, you ask me question. Then you will understand better, because the flow of thoughts coming to your mind may be obstructed because of, sometimes you will ask the question. You can hold the question back for now. Just follow the course, and then you will be able to see. Sometime, maybe not in this class, maybe subsequent classes, you will see what I'm trying to communicate, and you'll understand Maya better. Because Maya is something that is not easy to understand for even a wise person also. A most learned person also can get misled by Maya. Okay. Even you may be a jnani or somebody will be there, even him also gets misled by Maya. That is the power of Maya. So it is not something to be easily understood, nor can be comprehended. You can easily like that. Okay.
Okay, got it. Okay, all right, thanks.
Okay. So, so we were in this topic called gold. So the forms, or the name and the form is already present in the gold, but in unmanifest form, because you do not really see anything at the moment. Another example I can give you also is when you look at an ocean, you call the ocean as still. Sometimes the ocean is very still. There are no waves at all. It's very, very tranquil water. There are some waves, of course, but sometimes very, very hardly waves will be there. Very small waves. So from a distance, you will see that the ocean is just flat like this. But when you go closer, you will see there are small waves which are appearing there. Correct? So the vision is what you see. The stillness of the water, the waves which appear in the water, are they different from the water? Where the waves which appear to you in a big waves, small waves, or the stillness of the water, was it living independently outside of the water, or was it in the water already? It was in the water already, correct? You cannot call stillness of anything without the water being there. But you always say what? There is stillness, there are waves. Because you see the top, the first portion itself. You see the manifestation and you think that that is what it is. But there are things which are not manifest. Like example, I told you the gold. He will probably say only a few things. He may not know other things also. Some other goldsmith will have other views. He may say that, I can make you something, some other design. So knowledge varies from person to person. Manifestation varies from person to person, depending upon what a person sees or does not have knowledge. Correct? What a goldsmith, a good goldsmith will see, an ordinary person may not be able to see. Because the level of knowledge in a person differs. Even though substance is the same, but the creation is different because of the knowledge of the person also. A person may be not that skilled enough or not knowledgeable enough, will see little of that. A person who is more knowledgeable will be able to see more of that. And a wise person who is the most skillful of all of them will see that these two people who are talking about knowledge is actually already present in the gold in unmanifest form. So the wise person sees the ornament. The wise person sees that it is only a manifestation of the form, a name and form and function, because the name is called a necklace and the form is like a oval shaped, or it can be ring shaped, it can be any shape, and it's got a function because it has got a use. So you can use it only in a particular place. You cannot wear the necklace wherever you want. So it belongs to a particular place, a particular use. So they are all in terms of limited in terms of use, in terms of appearance. But when all these three things, the skill of the person, the form, the name, everything merges into the gold, what remains? It's only gold. But we see three things. So we see the goldsmith, the ornament, and also the form, and also its use also. So all of them we see them. So gold alone enjoys existence. Everything else is having, they don't have independent existence. So can the necklace have an existence of its own without the gold? It cannot, because necklace does not have independent existence. It is always belongs to the gold. The goldsmith's knowledge also doesn't exist independently outside of the gold. If the gold was not there, the goldsmith also would not have knowledge. Supposing there is no product called gold at all, supposing the Srishti, there is no gold at all. Will there be a goldsmith? There will be no goldsmith, correct? And there will be no jnanam for making the gold. So what was there first? So something has to exist first for everything else to manifest. So gold has to be there first for the form to exist, to come into existence, the name to come into existence, and even for the goldsmith to manifest. Say over a period of time in this Kali Yuga, maybe there is no gold at all. Supposing people, the gold product itself is not there. There will be no goldsmith anymore. He may be there, but over a period of time, everything will diminish and there will be no more knowledge called goldsmith. Something else will come. Some other product will come. So the knowledge gets substituted by something which is different. But the thing continues to exist irrespective of what it is. So for something to be made, there has to be something already existing before. So was there a creation before or not? There was no creation. It is already given to you in a form. So the substance was already there. The water was already there. The water now got transformed into a wave or into a tsunami or some other, some other form which you can imagine, because of water being present. If there is no water being present, can there be a wave outside of the water? It cannot be. Can there be a name called a wave at all without the water? The name wave also belongs to water. The term ocean also belongs to water. So substance is one. The manifestations are many. But we take the manifestation to be the truth. So Jiva also is a manifestation. Just as a gold, Jiva also is a manifestation of the same consciousness. But somehow the Jiva is taken as a Satyam and consciousness of Brahman is taken as the not the Satyam at all. We forget it. It's not that we do not know. We may have an idea about it, but it doesn't come to us just like that. So this is what Maya does to you. So Maya just covers it first and then makes you think in a different aspect of it. So now if you look at the Maya, so we have come now to the current topic of Maya, what it is. So first of all, we have to analyze that there is no thing called creation, number one. Creation means bringing something into the world from nothing. So there has to be something from which it has to be created, correct? There has to be something. You cannot say that I'm creating out of, you say, what did you create? He said, I created an ornament. From where did you create? I had gold with me. So did you create the gold? No, it was given to me. So where is the question of creation being there? So gold was already manifest, and it is actually part of the Prakriti itself. Like many other gold, silver, all the minerals you see there, different types of metals, they're all there. And they're all substances which are already there. It's only if we bring it into light, then it becomes Satyam. That's what we see that. So this is how Maya works at that level. And the word Maya itself means magic. It is a feminine gender, represents the Shaktihi or the power. So Maya is called Shaktihi. Another name for Maya also is called Avidya, Ajnanam, unmanifest Ishvara, so these are all the different names or different ways Maya is known. Now, why do we have to understand Maya? Can we not just live like this and be just like this? See, Maya itself is a very powerful, very, very powerful power. It's a very, very misleading thing, and also it can confuse a lot of people because it is the way it acts upon the individual and how a person thinks. It is the power of manifestation of Brahman, of consciousness. So when something has to be manifest, there has to be a power, correct? See, if you want to see the world, there has to be a power in your eyes, correct? If you don't have the power of seeing your eyes, can you see the world? You cannot see the world. So there has to be a power which should act upon a substance for it to be manifest. But the substance need not manifest itself. There's no requirement for the power for the substance to manifest. So if the substance does not manifest, example, if there is no power in your eye, can you conclude that you are not there? You are definitely there. But the power of seeing is not there. So because the power of seeing is not there, the object is not manifest. But can you conclude that you are not there? You cannot, because it is unmanifest. Because you do not know, so it is unmanifest. Unmanifest power is there. There's no manifesting medium called the eye anymore to see. The power is not there, so you cannot see. In the same way, Maya also is power of Brahman. So Maya is a power of Brahman, and it is inseparable from consciousness. So when you say Brahman is equal to Maya plus the power. Okay. So this Maya or the power has got three Shakti, three Shaktis. One thing is called Jnana Shakti. Jnana Shakti means the knowledge. So it's got the knowledge by itself. Then Kriya Shakti. So Kriya Shakti means the capacity to create or to appear something different. Then Ichcha Shakti means it comes at its own will. There is really nobody sitting and creating something. So the power is got three things: Jnana Shakti, Ichcha Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. So the three powers together are called Gunaha. They're called three Gunas or three Shaktis, which are present in the Maya. So these three things are present in the Maya already there, but you cannot see them. Can you see power? If I say that you are powerful, can you see power? But you know that you have got power. So is the power manifest or unmanifest? The power is unmanifest, correct? So when you do something, let us say when you want to lift maybe 20 kilo or 50 kilo or something, right? You don't know whether you have the power or not. But when you do the action, the power is manifest. So the power is actually not, you were not able to see the power, but power became manifest because of your Ichcha Shakti. What is Ichcha Shakti? You wanted to lift that parcel. You wanted to lift that particular concept, whatever you have, item, you want to lift that on an Ichcha Shakti. And Jnana means you also know how to do this, correct? Like if you want to lift to something, you already have an idea how to do it, some idea. If you don't know the idea, you will not even go near it. Say if you want to make a car, you will not even bother looking at it because you don't have, number one, have the power, number one. Neither you have the Ichcha, neither you have the Kriya Shakti. Three things are not there. But all the three things are present in somebody or the other. There's always someone there present. You will have different Shakti, you have different Shakti. All the powers put together is this Maya. So the Maya is present in all these different things as this unmanifest power. And when it is manifesting, when it comes, acts with the stratum called Brahman. So when it acts with something called Brahman, it brings into existence objects which are not there before. So these things were unmanifest before. The power is acting upon the unmanifest and it brings into appearance those things which are not there before. Assuming the gold, take example gold. Gold is in unmanifest form, correct? Gold is unmanifest. The power of Ichcha Shakti, that means I want to create an ornament, correct? I want to create an ornament. Jnana Shakti means I want to have the intelligence to do this. And the Kriya Shakti, when it acts upon the gold, then you get a product called ornament. Is it correct? So three things are already inbuilt in the gold itself. All the things are already there. So this is how Maya actually works. That all three Shaktis are there, and when this power act upon the consciousness of Brahman, then the whole Jagat comes into existence. Objects come into existence. So from Avyaktaha or unmanifest, it becomes Vyaktaha or manifest. So this term called Sanskrit, Avyaktaha means unmanifest and Yaktaha means manifest. So if I say that I am powerful, can the power exist independently out of the powerful? So the word powerful itself indicates that you should have power. So the word powerful doesn't have existence independent of its without the power, correct? When you say powerful, it means what? You have power. Powerful term doesn't have any meaning at all without the word called power. So you always identify somebody powerful saying that he has got the power. Right? The same way, Shakti or Maya also cannot exist without Brahman or consciousness. So Maya is also power of Brahman and it is always an integral part of consciousness. It doesn't have existence independently outside of consciousness. This is the first conclusion you should make, first one. That means all the powers to create the gold, all of them are already present in the gold biscuit itself. Without the gold being there, there is no thing called ornament, there's no thing called gold ring, correct? So it has to be there. So the power is actually present already inside this, but you do not see it. We do not see it, but you can see it through the understanding of the Shastram that this is how it is. That there is only one substance, one substance, everything comes into existence, manifest, and the manifest forms are being seen as a truth. The unmanifest forms are not seen at all because it is something which you cannot perceive. So how this works is there are two terms you need to know till your course finishes. One thing is called Vikshepa Shaktihi. Vikshepaha Shaktihi. Second thing is called Avarana Shaktihi. Vikshepa Shaktihi and Avarana Shaktihi. So Avaranam means covering or hiding of the truth. And when something is hidden, something else gets reflected, something else gets manifested. So in order for something to be manifested, something has to be hidden away. So Avaranam means the power of projection. Sorry, Avaranam means the power of concealing, and Vikshepaha means the power of projecting. So you can say Avaranam is equal to veiling or hiding, and Vikshepaha is equal to projection or manifesting. So we have dreams. In the dream state, we create a lot of objects, correct? So in the dream state, each person creates a lot of objects. Your dream will be different to my dream. My dream will be different to Sriram's different dream. Everybody will have different dreams. And in every dream, there are different objects being created, different materials being used, and different enjoyment also is there. Now, do you think that are you creating the dream? Is a dream created or is just a totram or manifestation? A dream is only a manifestation of already existing thoughts, correct? Is it right? So for a dream to come into something, there has to be something, correct? So I'm just giving an example of gold so that you understand what it is. So we thought that the names in the form gold, ornaments, bangles, etc. are an appearance out of the gold. So the gold is substance and all other things are nama rupaha karmaha, correct? The same way here also, the dream also, there are many objects that are not, a lot of names are being created. So you'll have your own independent name. Then there'll be a form, correct? So your form, what you see in your form will be different to what I see. Some people don't have any dream because they go to sleep, they are too tired. So they directly drift off into sleep immediately. Good people. Some people who have got all this prarabdhas, they have either good dreams or they have wild dreams. So there are different types of dreams also. Correct? So in the dream state, are you creating anything at all? If at all you're creating, what is the substance? The substance is the thoughts, correct? This your subtle impressions which you have gathered either in your, when you're a small child, all your differences of life, or during the day, or some experiences which you have got, which is manifesting as a dream. And in the dream, you're creating your dream world. You are the creator. You are the enjoyer. You're also the everything. You are the enjoyer, bhokta. Karta and bhokta, you are the person, correct? The adharam for this dream is based on the thoughts. Are you creating the thoughts? Is the thoughts being created or is they just come? They just arise. If you say, I am creating the thoughts, then you have a problem. Thoughts are not created because thoughts are coming and going. You do not have any control over the thoughts. If you say, I want to control the thoughts, then that itself is a difficult thing. What you should say is, I manage the thoughts. I cannot control the thoughts, but I can manage what thought I should focus on. If you say that I want to control the thoughts, the same thing will lead you to controlling that itself is again a thought. See, the thought of controlling a thought also is a thought. Is it correct? If I say that I want to control a thought, that also is a vritti only. So how can you stop it? So there is no way of stopping it because this is all already there. But the thoughts are in unmanifest form to you. In the waking state, are your dreams coming? There's no dreams. In the waking state, there are no dreams, correct? Because it is unmanifest. But in the dream state, when you really go to dream, at that time, these thoughts, which are unmanifest form, comes into manifestation again. Correct? So there is a basis, this is an adharam, a substance already there. from which something has to come. So there is really no creation. Okay, so far understood? There's nothing created here. Everything is only manifested. It's only an appearance of everything from one source. Just as different ornaments appear from one source, they appear to be all different. Same way, all the jivas which are there coming from one source, but they appear to be different. So different thoughts, different vrittis, different experiences, different physical bodies, different types of mind, all things are different. So what is it that actually makes this appearance? Is this Maya. So the Maya is the one which actually misleads a person, thinking that there is creation, there is a creator, and there is a creating process. So all these objects are real. That means every day things are being created. So this creation theory is being proposed by the Upanishad to tell you that if there was a creation, there has to be a creator. So the creator has to be there, means the creator also should be finite, just as us. So if we are the creator, then we are time bound, correct? Any creation is time bound. Even the gold ornament which you create also is time bound. After some time, many years, 20, 30 years, the gold ornament will lose its luster, its color. Then what do? You go back to the same goldsmith or another goldsmith. You tell him that I don't like this anymore. So what does he do? He just puts in the fire, all of them, and then he'll make a lump of gold and give it to you again. So where did all the forms called the gold, etc. Were there? They all went back into the gold. They again become unmanifest. Again, when you say I want a different design, the goldsmith says, okay, I'll make you a new design. So new design comes to existence. At that time, in the fashion, new thing comes to existence. Then it again continues for a long time like this. Again, it goes into unmanifest. Again, it becomes manifest. Again, it dies. Again, comes back. So the same process continues. So the jiva also continues to live like this. If a jiva thinks that he is the gold ornament, he is the name, form, and function, then he will also be born, he will be used, he will die one day, he will again be created again. Srishti. From Srishti again it will become Sthitihi, existence, then Layaha, then Mahapralayaha. So Layaha means death and Mahapralaya means the whole dissolution happens. So this continues for a jiva as long as he thinks he is a body, mind, sense complex. And this is what Maya does to a person. It makes you imagine that you are this. It makes you imagine that you are the physical body, mind, sense complex, and you are not the consciousness, but you are only a created product from this consciousness. Hope you're getting it right. It makes you, it doesn't do anything to you. It just gives you the view. Before you study Shastram, you don't even know what it is. An example which is quoted in the Shastram is the snake and the rope. It's called Rajju Sarpaha. So Rajjuhu means rope and Sarpaha means snake. So Rajju Sarpa Nyayaha, you can call it, or the logic. So on a dim light, it's about maybe 7 o'clock in the night, it's fairly dark, there are no lights in the garden, in the backyard. You happen to look out of the garden suddenly and you see a long object. Suddenly you say, oh, there's a snake in the garden. because it looks like a snake to you. So for you, it's a snake. So you go and tell your wise person, your friend, you tell him, I saw a snake in the garden. He says, it can't be, there can't be a snake because snakes don't live here. No, sir, I definitely saw a snake. I can prove it to you. I'm afraid to go out and see. So you call the wise person. The wise person comes, he brings with him a torch. So he goes first, you go behind. Who is the guy? The wise person is Guru. The wise person is the teacher of the Guru, and the torch represents the knowledge he's having. He switches on a torch, then it shows the person behind. Now look. He says there's only rope here. No, but I definitely saw a snake there. He said, no, it's only your imagination. He said, look, I can show you there's only a rope here. Then he sees, touches it, and then says, yes, there is only a rope. There's not a snake. So what happened before was his imagination that there was a snake in the garden. Right? When he got knowledgeable, or when knowledge came to existence, knowledge rose, then the snake disappeared and the rope was there. Did the snake go away and the rope was there? Or did the snake God merge the rope? So whether two different things or one thing? There's one thing appearing as two. Why? Because of Ajnana. The lack of knowledge. See, when you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the Purna Jnanam, you tend to conclude that this could be this could be that, this could be this. Because it is not, it happens to everybody. It's not only, even a wise person sometimes can also get misled. That is why Shravanam is required or Maranam is required for the wise person also. Why? Because consistently when you do this activity, you tend to forget. After some time, Shastram will be forgotten. Always tend to be forgotten. Maya has got the power of concealing. So it conceals first. Then it actually throws out. So Avaranam first happens. What is Avaranam? Is covering. So the snake was covered in the rope was covered in the snake. Right? So your knowledge about the snake was covered. Then suddenly you saw the snake, so it just threw out something which was not there. Then you went again and closely saw the light. You saw that there's actually only a rope. There's not a snake at all. So what happened to the snake? The snake got resolved into the rope. Okay. So you resolved the Ajnanam into Jnanam. So the rope is the Jnanam, the snake is the Ajnanam, the snake is Mithya. So it's a new word called Mithya. So you should write the word Mithya. Mithya means that which does not exist, or it doesn't have existence independently of something. So Satyam is the truth. Mithya means it's as though existing, but not absolutely existing. Just as the gold ornament, the bangles, etc. are existing as though, but it doesn't have existence outside of the gold. The waves, the ocean, the foam in the waves do not have existence outside of the water. The imaginary thing called a snake does not have existence of its own. An example also could be that if you are having a table in your home, you're writing a table on a wooden table. The wooden table is a manifestation of what? Wood. But we don't see the wood, right? You only see the table. So whenever you talk about table, you already talk about wood already. But you do not know you're talking about wood, but you already know they're talking about wood, but you forget that name called wood. You do not see it. You only see the table. Oh, this table looks very nice, black in color, very polishy. It's made of this. All these things are, you can see them. So this is what it does to you. Same way, Jiva also thinks that he's a creation. He's something different from Brahman, from consciousness. And I have an independent existence. I am different. Jiva, Ishvara is different. Brahman is different. So Brahman is different, Ishvara is different, I am different. So Jiva, Ishvara, Brahma Vedaha. What I'm saying? Jiva, Ishvara, Brahma Vedaha. Means that three different differences are there. So when you have all differences, this is what Avidya or Maya. So as I told you before, Maya's name is called Avidya. Avidya. So but Maya and the power or the consciousness cannot be separated. If you go to any temple, Dakshinamurti or Ardhanarishwarar, so in Ardhanarishwarar, what is the Ardhanarihi? There's a male form and a female form. So the male form represents the unmanifest form of Shiva. The Shakti represents the manifest form. Dakshinamurti, you see them, it has got half man and half woman. Ardhanarishwaraha. So Shakti and Shivam, they are always joined together. Without the Shakti, the power itself, the Brahman cannot manifest. Shivam cannot even be existing. It is there, but nobody will know about it. So for the creation to come to existence, there has to be a power which has to act upon a substance. For the gold ornament to come to existence, there has to be a power called the process of making the gold has to come to existence. The power is the knowledge, Icha Shakti of the goldsmith, the Kriya Shakti of the goldsmith, and the Jnana Shakti of the goldsmith. Correct? These three have to act upon the gold for it to produce. But it need not get produced. You can keep the gold biscuit with you in Dubai. You go to Dubai, you buy. Sometimes, I remember people saying to me, I went to Dubai, I bought biscuits. I'm just gathering everything there. So it is all in form of biscuits form. The person doesn't know what he's going to make. He just goes and buys things and he keeps it in the biscuit form or in gold, dollar form or whatever, coin form. There are different forms. Ultimately, whether you have biscuit form or dollar form or gold, it doesn't matter. They're all only gold only. At the moment, you do not know because you do not have the power of creation. Icha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. You do not have it. But when these three things act upon the gold, then manifestation comes into existence. So for the gold can exist independently of the power of creation, correct? The gold need not manifest itself, it can just be as a bar itself. You can keep it as a bar for lifetime. You don't have to make anything at all. It will still be as a bar only, correct? But if you want to bring something into existence, there has to be a power acting upon substance. So this power is called the Maya. And this, because of its nature of Icha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti, and because there is Ishvara, which is the power which is acting upon this, and everything becomes manifest. And when it is unmanifest, everything goes back into the same consciousness. Same way here also. Jiva also is non-separate from consciousness. So Jiva also originates from the consciousness through the power, and it again goes back into unmanifest form when the forms are resolved back into consciousness. So what does it mean? That Maya is Brahma Ashrayaha. Number one. Brahma Ashrayaha means it has got its residence, or it got its adharam in Brahma or Brahman. Ashrayaha. So Maya is not separate from Brahman. Maya is part of Brahman. Okay? Maya is part of Brahman, non-separate from Brahman. Then Maya is Trigunatmikaha. What is Trigunatmikaha? Icha Shaktihi, Jnana Shaktihi, and Kriya Shaktihi. So Trigunatmikaha. Three gunas are there. So these are all Sanskrit Advaitic terms. Number one is Brahmashrayaha. Second thing is Trigunatmikaha. Third, Anirvachaniya. Anirvachaniya means what? Indescribable. You cannot describe. Can you describe power? See, sometimes say, அவருக்கு சக்தி இருக்கு அப்படிமா. ஒரு சக்தி இருக்கு. என்ன சக்தி? ஏதோ சக்தி இருக்கு அவர்கிட்ட. We say that. We say he has got some shakti. Some shakti is there. But can you measure what shakti is there? You cannot comprehend because it's difficult to describe what shakti is. Can we define what shakti is in creating this universe? We do not know. We cannot even create, comprehend. So it's called Anirvachaniya. You cannot describe indescribable. Then the fourth is called Jnana Virodhihi. What is Maya? Jnana Virodhihi. It is an enemy to Jnanam. Why? Because it has the power to conceal Avaranam. It has the power to conceal the truth. So Jnana Virodhihi, number 4. Number 5, Vikshepa Shaktihi and Avarana Shaktihi. I already told you this. So the power of projecting and the power of covering. So in the dream state, you have the power to project everything. In deep sleep state, when you go to this, your projection is covered or it is hidden. So it does both. Then the last one is called Anadihi. Anadihi means what? Beginningless. Maya is beginningless, but it can be ended. So Maya has got an end in Jnanam, but it has got no beginning because it is part of Brahman, the consciousness. And consciousness doesn't have a beginning, therefore Maya also is the beginning. From the day we take birth, we are avidya, we are jnanis. So anadihi. Right from the beginning, we don't have knowledge. The moment we are born itself, it is avidya is there. That is why our birth is there. See, in some other class I told you that the purpose of the human body is because of avidya. Because there is avidya, there is lack of knowledge due to ahankara, and this ahankara is the one which creates the actions. The papam punyam is created. Papam punyam will make you create another body, and this is the way it is concluded. But this can be ended. Maya can be resolved in jnana. How? By understanding what Maya is. See, the magician is a person who creates a magic, correct? Does the magician get affected by the magic? Imagine that the magician also gets affected by magic, then there will be no magic. But who is the sufferer? We are the sufferers. So the magic is actually done on the other person. And the magician is absolutely in control of the magic, correct? Whereas we are not. So this is the power of Maya. Maya has got absolute mastery, or it knows how to hide these things, yet it will not get affected by our avidya, because it has got all the powers, Icha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and it uses these three powers to make us believe some things which is not the right thing. So magician also does. He will say that you're walking on the moon, and you really feel you're walking on the moon because it makes you feel like this. But the person who is not actually subject to Maya, you will say that, see, this is all joking, because it acts only on a person whom he wants to do, correct? A set of people. He doesn't pick everybody else. He says, let me pick some handful of people and I will spread my magic on that person. So these people who are affected by them are called the Ajnanis. For the wise person, the Maya doesn't touch anything, because Maya is actually incapable, because Maya is actually resolved in consciousness. He is already resolved, is Ajnanam in consciousness, in Jnana. So Maya doesn't leave him, it doesn't touch him. So Maya only affects people who are Ajnanis. So this is just introduction to Maya. So we are going to see more of it as we go on the next class or some of the other classes. It's a very big topic. It is discussed even in Panchadashi also. So you will continue to hear this in many classes to come. In Bhagavad Gita, you will see, in Upanishad, you will see in Drigdishya Viveka, you will see, Bhajagovindam, you will see in all sorts of texts, you will see this. So for the class, for the introductory class, what you understand is there is no creation, number one. There's only manifestation. And because there's only manifestation, anything to be manifested has to be coming from something. Right? Substance has to be there. The substance is consciousness. So from everything comes in existence, everything resolves back into consciousness. In between, the process is called Maya. And the Maya we described, all the qualities we described. Okay, Sridhamji, now you can ask what question is it make clear to you now a little bit more than before?
Yeah, I think I'll wait for the remaining classes to come. Yeah, I think I'm clear to a certain extent, but still I think I got a few more things which is unclear at this stage.
Yeah, I think what you do is, because see, Maya itself is unclear to many even wise people. So I mean, it is not just sometimes if you don't study or if you don't revise it for a long time, you tend to believe this is the world that is. You tend to forget. So it is not that when you oh my God, what have you thinking about it? This is not Satyam. Then you tend to realize that I've forgotten about this. This is the power of Maya. It conceals. If you are out of touch with something, like a lot of people study Shastram for many years, 5 years, 6 years they study, then they disappear. After some time, what they do, they go back to their old habits. So the Maya acts like this. It actually makes you forget. That is why you always say Shravanam is important. Somebody asked me a question, how long should I study? I said, till you leave the physical body, you have to keep studying, you have to keep remembering what you studied. It has to become your life. It is not like, a course where you finish a course and then you just walk off and get a degree and just finish it off. It is what you are dealing with is your lifestyle. You have to live it. Unless you live the lifestyle of what is taught as teaching, you will not be able to benefit. You got it? So you'll have to really see, it has to work for you. That means every day of the life, you have to really, you cannot calculate. You can't say, is it Maya or not Maya? Not like this. You understand the back of the things that everything, even I am also an appearance. My physical body also is a manifestation of the same thing. So I'm also just a thought from appearance only. It's going to change. I'll not be here forever. So what is there forever is the truth of my own true nature, consciousness. That I'll be there as it is. So in the wake of the knowledge, what you do, you disown the physical body. You just say that this is not Satyam. So when you disown the physical body, when you say that this is not what it is, cognitively, then any amount of things will not affect you much. Whereas when you forget the truth, and when you take this as Satyam, then all the pain and pleasure, everything what you're going through will be feeling real. Correct? This is what Maya does to you. It makes you feel that you are suffering. In reality, you're not suffering. It's only the upadhis which are suffering there. So this you will get this clarity more in the few classes. So today, in the introductory classes, I just want to give you an introduction into what Maya is, what Ishvara is, what different things are there, so that you don't, when a second time you talk about some other classes, you do not know, oh my God, what is this? I don't know. So for the moment, you have this as the baselines, and we will continue with few other classes. Maybe in 2 to 3 weeks time, we'll go into some text to study, and in that text you will see all these things, how they all relate to each other. Is it okay?
So there is one more thing as well. Like, we always describe only the three functions of the the consciousness, the Shrishti, Sthiti, Samhara, but the Tirodhana and also the Anugraha also to be included. Like, it's a Panchakrityas, isn't it?
Yeah, but mainly these are the three things are there. Those are all in between status, in between things. The sthiti or the existence comes in between. So all of the things which is coming between those two. So three different things are discussed there. Right? So Srishtihi, Sthitihi, and Samhara means the three things are there, which is the main things. So creation, protection, and dissolution. Correct? So Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara talks about, right? So Brahma is the creator. Vishnu is called the protector of the universe. And Maheshwara is supposed to be the Samhara Murti of the dissolution of the whole thing. In between these three, there are different types of people are there, different devatas are there, who do different types of things. So they take care of those kind of things. Got it?
Yep. Okay.
So that is why we have, the Trimurti or Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, we have this. And three gunas are there, three shaktis are there. So all of them are three. Right? And three is Sattva-guna, Raja-guna, Tama-guna, Icha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti. In between, there will be some other Shakti which is required for you to do this. There will be some Upa-Shakti is required. So all these are covered in the main three states of experience. So we have waking state, dream state, and deep sleep state. So all the three. So all three, they're all three only. So within the three, there can be deviations, there can be other states which will be there in between, which contributes to those other things. So we do not discuss in detail those things. Though we talk about it in some text or the other, but generally these are the three aspects we talk about.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Bhavani, any questions you got?
Just one thing, just off this topic. When you said Ichasakti, Kriyasakti, and Jnana Sakti, so that comes in Lalita Sahasranam. It's in the same order.
Same order, correct. Because see, they are also the power is actually with Shakti being worshipped there. So Shakti Upasaka, or a person who's actually worshipping the Shakti, has got the personification Saguna Brahma Upasanam. So there the Devi is being personified as the one who has got the Shakti. So Devi also is a manifestation of the same consciousness. The power is also, as I told you, the power is coming out of consciousness only. The power doesn't have existence outside of consciousness. So even Devi also, any Upasaka also is actually Sagunam only. So we have Lalita Sahasranama, we have Devi Stotram, we have Chandi Pataha. All of them they personify different types of Shakti. Right?
Mm.
So all of them are only the power. So the power is actually manifestation is what you see there. So the Stotram described the Devi in different forms. Correct? It actually personifies, it worships, it brings to light the Devi is like this. Correct? Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu, no, Shraddharu Samsita, Namastasmai, 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 Namo Namaha. Correct? So
Yeah.
Chaya Rupe Samsita, then Bhranti Rupe Samsita. So all of them. So Bhranti Rupena, Shraddha Rupena, Daya Rupena, correct? Pushti Rupe Samsita. All of them are what? They are all only attributes. So Daya means compassion. Shraddha, commitment. So all these things are actually the same power is being manifested in different facets, and you worship the Devi in that particular form. Right? So its form is what, as I told you, it is a manifestation of
Manifestation.
same. Correct. So the power, the names cannot exist without the power being there. So without the Devi being there, there's no thing called so and so attributes. Correct.
Yeah.
And the Devi also cannot be there without the source being consciousness. So ultimately, that's why we have the Ardhanadeshwara when we say the Devi is non-separate from the consciousness. So together they come, they act upon each other. Then the whole Srishti is created. Whole names and forms are created.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so that is how you understand. So when you study these concepts, right, then Lalita Sahasranama will become more meaningful to you. You understand the meaning. Okay, these are all only names and forms. These are all our worship, or the way we give names and forms, and we give our gratitude to the Bhagavan. That is how you respect them. You do not take them as the truth itself, because the truth is actually somewhere else. You got it, Bhavani?
Yes, thank you.
For now, I think that satisfies the question, right?
Thanks.
Okay. Sridharji, any questions you've got? Shrikantji? Okay. I think today we are missing Kushal. I don't know what happened to Kushalji. I think he dialed in for some time and then disappeared. So hopefully you can catch up with the recording. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Sorry, I think Srikant, you had a question. Why is Goddess Shakti called Mahamaya? See, the word Maya, as I told you, is a feminine gender word. Correct? Shakti is also a feminine gender word. So Shakti is actually a feminine gender word, Strilinga, and Maya also is Strilinga. And Mahamaya represents what? The greatest magician. So they're all only names. So you can have small Maya, big Maya, doesn't matter. Maya is Maya. So Mahamaya, when you say, it means what? The greatest magician. So there are small magicians and bigger magicians. Right? So when somebody is supposed to be Mahamaya, means there should be a Lord of the Lord or Lord of the Maya itself. So there is one level of power which is superior than the other power. You got it? So don't get worried about the name, because all of them are only. So Shakti is feminine gender. Maya also is called feminine gender. Mahashakti, Parashakti, Adishakti, Mahamaya, all of them are same. Srikanji, got it? Okay. Because all these are named. If you say Adi Shakti, he means what? Adi means beginning. The power was beginningless, correct? Adi Shakti. Parashakti is what? That belongs to the Paramatma Parashakti. So we do not call Aparashakti. So Mahamaya also, when you say Maha means what is Maha is actually greatest. So all of them things, they are all indicating the same thing. The names are different, but if you look at the whole synopsis, Adishakti, Parashakti, Mahashakti, all the Shaktis are actually only one. They are all given different names for understanding. Okay, so we'll stop the class here and we'll see next week. We'll see some other topic, how we go there. Hari Om.
Hari Om.